On this episode of Pimp My Setup, we're going to be talking about your setups you submitted for tips, tricks, feedback, and much more. So if you're interested in that, then sit back, relax, and interact because the show starts
now.
It's time for the original setup show dedicated to providing you with tips, tricks, and feedback to pimp out your setup. Hosted by Philie with new special guests every week. Coming at you live in 3, 2, 1.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to Pimp My Setup, episode number 7, recorded live on December 1st, 2014. My name is Philie. Check me out on Twitter at Philie.
And I'm Jeff Weisbein. You can check me out on Twitter at Jeff Weisbein. I also run a site called besttechie.com, which I've been doing since I was 13 years old. And I also have a new company called Kaya, stands for Know Your Audience, and we have this cool button called the Shout button. So if you see it on a bunch of different websites, make sure you click it because it benefits you, the reader of the website, with personalized different content that is tailored to what you like, and it also tells the publisher what kind of content you like so they can create more of it.
There you go. So where can they find that again?
You can check out Kaya at getkaya.com. That's getkaya.com. Or you can go also to besttechie.com for tech news, updates, reviews, stuff like that.
Yeah, so definitely check them out. Jeff and myself go way back, and I actually did some videos. I was just telling everyone on the live stream. I've been in a couple of videos on his channel, and if you want to see that, click the link down in the description. Find them. Once you see them, you'll be scarred for life, but it's okay.
I thought they were pretty good at the time.
Yeah, especially for my age. I mean, they were decent, but looking at them now, I just cringe, but it's okay. Before we get into the show, I want to make a quick announcement that Pimp Perks is now available, perks.pimpmysetup.com. If you head on over there, you can pick up the Fast Pass. It's been available. It's been sort of a silent release, but if you go over there, you can pick it up now, get your setup on the show as quick as possible. You could do the setup consultation that I was referring to earlier. You get a poster. You could do the $5 subscription, which will get you different benefits, and also you could do the free subscription to get entered in some giveaways and things like that. But with that said, let's get into the setup. So first setup is submitted by Jan, and you know, Jan, he's got a pretty sick setup, and the best part about it is that he's actually the thumbnail of this episode. So you know, when I choose you as the thumbnail, you got a pretty nice setup. But I just want to quickly say he is 17. He is from Switzerland, and let's talk about his setup. So we're doing things a little different this episode. Jeff and myself, before the show, we actually scored the setups. So because of that, we're not going to go category to category in order to save some time. So we're just going to go over certain things. So I'll do a quick spiel, and then I'll head on over to you, Jeff, and we'll combine our thoughts and see what we think about the setup. So taking a look at it, it's not terrible for wire management. Definitely a couple of things that could be fixed. You know, when you're using a lot of wired accessories, you're going to have wires going all over. He doesn't have it terrible, but I would definitely look to watching my video about how to display your headphones, because then you could definitely get rid of them hanging on your monitors like that. You could also work a little bit more with the where the PC is. Maybe if you're going to use those tubings and things like that, bring it down before pulling it out. You might have to get some, extenders for your wires and things like that. But really, you got some random accessories like the controllers laying there. I would definitely try to find like a stand or put them in a dresser, a drawer, organizational bin, something like that. If you're definitely using that remote a lot, I would definitely keep it there. But in other cases, I would just kind of put it away. And I would definitely dress up the wall. But that's my quick spiel. And what do you think about it, Jeff?
I agree with a lot of the things you said, Matt. I think one of the the main things for me here with this setup is he has a lot of wired components, and as you mentioned, it's hard to when you have that many wired components, it's almost impossible to have really no wires on your desk or anywhere. But he has done a good job with it, and especially with the tubes that he has going from the back of the PC to, it looks like, the monitors and things like that, and they are white, so they do blend in with the wall, which is good. The only thing I don't really like about these tubes, those little plastic tubes, is that if you ever try and take a wire out or put another wire in, you cut your hand. It's like they're so sharp, and they hurt like hell, and you have to like get a scissor to actually cut them. It's impossible to open them up without like making your fingers bleed. But he did do a good job with that. I think that remote that he has there probably is for that top monitor or TV. I believe is probably, if he switches an input, I would imagine it goes to his TV. So which is probably why he has it there. Mm-hmm. So if that's the case, then I'm okay with that. I'm kind of, I mentioned to you before the show, but I'm really wondering what that thing under the two monitors on the left and in the middle are. Yeah. I'm not really sure what that is, but if it's something that can be kind of placed, on under the desk or in the desk, or if he has space, if he has some kind of drawer system that he can put it in, if it's like an external drive, if he really needs it sitting out, I'm not really sure. But that could be something he could look into, obviously, and maybe just he has that mechanical keyboard. It looks there that with the wire that goes back, and then he has, it looks like, some other wires going a little astray on the top of the desk. I think maybe if you just line them up better, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So they were like straight and together, maybe it would just look a little bit better. But aside from that, I really like the setup.
Yeah, and one thing I was mentioning earlier is we don't know what it looks like underneath the desk, which also plays a big factor into scoring the setup. Hopefully it's not terrible, but it looks like it's probably going to be well maintained, because although, as we said, 3 times already, he has a lot of wired accessories, but he doesn't have it where it's the end of the world. So I'm sure that he takes care of his wires. One thing that I really would love to see in the setup is definitely getting that triple monitor stand. Eliminate all the stands on the triple monitors on the bottom, and that would open up a lot of space underneath for you to put your remote and random accessories like that you need, like your controllers. You get a controller stand, have it run underneath your monitors, bring it a little closer to that to the top TV rather, and sort of seal that little gap. And you were asking earlier, Jeff, about that sort of baseball diamond decal on the wall. I mean, don't you think he should just get some posters, just kind of slap something over that?
Definitely some posters, or at least it seems kind of out of place a little bit. I'm not sure what the rest of his other walls in his room may look like, or in whatever room that is. But definitely posters would be great, especially looks like he's into gaming, so maybe some gaming posters, or just even painting that wall a different color than white altogether, and kind of tying it in and throwing some nice posters on there could make it look cool too.
Yeah, because I mean, maybe back in the day when he was a kid, he had like a certain theme going on, but now that we look at it, the theme was kind of hard for us to take out of it. It was sort of like, gaming, but not enough gaming to sort of sell us on it. It was sort of like a half and half, which we'll get to later, obviously. But I would definitely work towards a better theme and just kind of make it yours. You have the setup now, get some LEDs, put some personality into it, and really make it yours. So do you have any closing thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think what I would try and do with this is work on the wire management a little bit more. I agree with you in terms of get the monitor stand so you can either mount them on the wall or do something so that you can get rid of the stands and essentially have a lot more space on your desk. And then just work on, again, the wire management and the overall theme of the setup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I really think, I think you would agree also, it's a nice setup. Just with a couple of touches, it will be almost perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next setup. The next setup is submitted by James, and he basically goes on to talk about all his different things. And guys, we will have the setup, the Pimp My Setup website out soon. Well, actually the queue is almost done and ready for you guys to utilize. But also we're going to have the site back up and working with all the new episodes, with all the emails, so you can read exactly what they're telling us as far as specs and things like that. So get excited. But for now, you'll just have to wait. And I'll tell you a couple of things going on here. Basically says that this is like his work setup, and he doesn't go too much into what he actually does, but Jeff and myself were talking earlier, and we kind of gathered that he's doing something with maybe drawing / construction / something. I don't know.
I definitely, I think it's definitely, he obviously utilizes that Wacom tablet, and he has what appears to be, as we pointed out before, when we were talking, that drawing pad on the right side of the desk. So you gotta imagine that he definitely works with graphics of some kind.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to jump right to it. That's what's good about not having the categories to go by. I just want to jump into the fact that the monitor arrangements, it's very confusing. We couldn't figure out what was going on the right side, what that was necessarily.
What is that? I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I think that
it kind of feels like a tablet, but it also looks ginormous. Like some. Yeah, it looks a little bit bigger than a typical tablet. Yeah, it doesn't appear to have any buttons on it that I can see.
That's what's making me think that maybe it's like touchscreen, something like that. There's definitely it's definitely a tablet of some sorts, but it's probably bigger. I wouldn't be surprised if it was just like a touchscreen monitor or something like that. But with that part aside, that awkward arm coming off. The other monitors, it's like, what does he do? Does he do a lot of coding? Is that why he has the vertical monitor to the right? Why is the left monitor so far away from the other monitors? It's just like, it's very random and it's confusing and it hurts my brain. And that really killed his usability score. I mean, wouldn't you agree with how awkward these are set up?
Yeah, I think in terms of usability and the way the monitors are set up, it's definitely a very weird setup. It almost feels like he has 3 separate computers going on here, but you only see one desktop down at the bottom in the picture. So it really kind of is confusing to me why he has three different monitors going 3 different ways, showing essentially 3 completely different things, which just from usability standpoint, I just don't get it.
Yeah.
Again, I don't really like that. I don't like ever having physical space between connecting monitors. Again, and that comes down to my personal preference, but also I feel like it really when you're switching from one screen to another, it should be a seamless experience.
Yeah.
And if you have a gap, actual physical gap between the monitors, I feel like that definitely takes away from it.
Yeah, and some people are asking about the calculator. Now, if you zoom in on it, it's kind of hard for us to do that live on air, but if you zoom in, you'll see that has like a receipt paper roll sort of thing going on there.
Yeah, I remember I pointed that out to you before. I was like, what's with that?
Yeah, so he's definitely utilizing that for an actual physical reason. Like, he needs that paper. Otherwise, I hope he knows about the calculator built into his computer. Hopefully. I mean, if not, hey, you have a calculator on your computer. Yeah, the other thing that I really didn't like about this setup was that it was so empty. He has these big, beautiful walls that he could, I mean, they look very, I mean, I'm not a fan of the color necessarily, but they're very clean. They're not, you know, you'll see a lot of the times like specks and just little dings and things like that. Like, they're very nice, clean walls. And he could definitely, even if he had framed, you know, drawings that he did or pictures of family that was blown up or just some gaming posters or anything to personalize it. Utilize that empty space on your wall, give it some personality. And the other thing, and I think we were talking about this earlier, is how empty the whole desk is as a whole.
Yeah. I mean, I know one of the things you talk about with this show is out of sight, out of mind. And like, I feel like here it kind of is like working against him. Because he has so much desk and nothing on it, and I feel like it's almost again, it's working against him in the sense that I feel like there's tools that he probably uses that he just doesn't have access to for some reason, that they're not like on his desk. I mean I don't know if that's true or not, but he definitely could utilize that desk space to spruce it up, even with cool little things that he could put there, because he has the space.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't look like it was cluttered or anything. It would, if you utilize the space properly, you can do a lot of really cool stuff with all that desk space.
Yeah, and you know, back to when you were saying out of sight, out of mind, I really hope that this is a dead giveaway and opens a lot of people's eyes that think that when I say out of sight, out of mind, I mean don't have anything on your setup, blah, blah, blah. Like, this guy has nothing on his setup, and that's the problem. It just looks bleh. So don't think out of sight, out of mind means have nothing. It means have what you actually need, and that's it. So who knows? Maybe that's all he actually needs. But I would definitely love to see him do something to make it shine, to give it some life. But let's go into the next setup, because I think you'll probably have a lot to say about this one.
He doesn't. I mean, one more thing. I mean, he doesn't even have any speakers. Like, if even he added some speakers, some cool speakers or something, I'm sure he listens to music while he works, or at some time, you know, it would be cool to have some speakers on the desk too.
Yeah, because you're not always going to need to utilize just headphones. You're going to want to have, you know, some speakers time to time. But who knows? Maybe that's just personal preference. But this next setup is submitted by Ricardo, and he said he was actually on a previous episode, episode 41, which a lot of you guys are like, what, episode 41? But yeah, he was on a recent episode, and I think that's awesome that he's back with some fixes, because he said I gave him a lot of awesome, excellent ideas. And let's just take a look here. This is really nice. Theme, yes, but what is the theme? I feel like the theme is more so personal. It's like he's really into sort of Batman and just some really unique drawings. I guess those are drawings. I really like those. But he's also into Apple, and he showcases that. He's also into that elegant sort of look and modernness. And is that even a word? I don't know, but I feel like he just really put it all together, and I really like that. So as far as theme, what do you think about this setup?
So I agree. I like the Batman theme that he has going on, and I really do also like how he obviously is clearly an Apple fan, and you can tell that A, by all the Apple products, but also B, because if you just look at the way that certain things that are not Apple products that he has kind of resemble that Apple feel for. Yep. So like the base of the monitor on the right, it has that brushed metal look. His external hard drive has that brushed metal look. The Harman Kardon sound sticks, very Apple. And then even if you look above to where those lights are at the top, that shelf that's holding all his Apple boxes, look, it looks like it's a mirror or stainless steel type plate that's on the front. Yeah. So that also, I think, ties into the whole Apple feel that he's trying to go for.
Yeah, and I really love the high-rise stand that he's got going. Just everything, like you said, it matches it, and it's awesome. But that doesn't mean that it's perfect. A couple of things that we were nitpicking beforehand was the fact that the right monitor is so far away from the iMac, and by using our brain power and seeing that they have the same wallpaper, we're assuming that they're connected to the same, like obviously that secondary monitor is attached to the iMac. So right. We were just talking about it before. You said, that experience should be seamless, and here it's not. So I would love to see him push that together. Yeah, you might have to relocate your speaker, but it's not the end of the world, especially if you want it, you're going to want it more to the right if you're pushing the other monitor close together, because you're going to be in the center of those. So, that's one thing that kind of sticked out to me. And if you were to do that, you'd move the tablet over a little more. Maybe get you could get, what's the name of that? It's like an X stand or something like that for your MacBook Air. And I would definitely put the subwoofer underneath. Just little things like that really will tie us together. I
totally agree with you. The subwoofer should definitely go underneath the desk. If not for the only reason that it's a subwoofer.
Yeah.
And one other thing I really like about his setup is that iPhone stand really stands out to me. I really do like that. I would love to find out what kind of stand that is. It looks great in the picture.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of that.
I'm trying to see. He did not say what that was in the email. I wish he did, because that is a very nice one. But yeah, he did say that he made a lot of adjustments, and I think one that you would agree on, even though you didn't see the original photo, is that his wire management is flawless, almost, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, you can't see under the desk, but you can tell that from behind the iMac kind of, and also the other monitor. He's definitely tried tried his hand at wire management here and keeping the cables together. It looks like they're kind of put in a way that they kind of line up with one another to go behind the desk.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure, again, because you can't see, but so I don't know where those cables actually land. But he looks like he did a pretty nice job on the desk. Everything's behind as opposed to in the front, so that's always a plus.
Yeah, and not like it really looks so much better, even if you could see them from the top. Not having them like spider nest web sort of mess at the bottom of your feet. That can ruin a setup. But having it on top and sort of maintained is really nice. You could definitely do a lot to it to neat it up. But actually, Sergeant Ballistic, I'll link his video down below if I remember. I'm sure he'll remind me, Brian, if you want to just remind me. Was that? Oh, I gotta. Let me just. But if you guys check out his video, he just made a quick mention about the IKEA Signum, I think. And it's just a basket. You guys have probably seen it. You could just put it underneath your desk and run all your cables through it. So that's something he could probably do. I'm not sure if he's actually doing that, but if he wants to get rid of the wires that are on top, just have him lay in the basket underneath your desk, you know? I'm trying to see what else. Do you have any other thoughts about the setup, though?
No, I like it. I think you know, if I wanted to be really nitpicky about it, I think the one thing I might change, if I could, would be the chair.
Yeah,
the blue chair just doesn't match the rest of his setup. If he's going for that Apple kind of feel, I would like either a white chair or a black chair, or just not blue, that just doesn't match the rest of what he has. But that's really nitpicky. Not the end of the world.
Yeah. And apparently, I did say it before. So someone's telling me it's a 12 South high rise for the iPhone stand, but I think that's for the iMac. That's not. I don't have time to look into that, but I will look into it after the show, and I will, if I find that iPhone stand, I'll post it in the description. But let's move on to the next setup. The next setup is submitted by Pete. He's 14, and he, like every other 14-year-old, said that he did pay for everything himself. So thank you. I don't know why they think we don't believe them, but it's okay. We believe you. I know what it was like to be a 14-year-old wanting everything.
Yeah, you were closer to that than I.
Yeah. I was only 14 when I was making videos for you, so yeah.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Definitely go back and check those. But all right, so let's look into it. I'm gonna give you the microphone here. Tell us, break it down, your initial thoughts about the setup.
All right, so this setup, especially for a 14-year-old, I think is pretty good. Thing I like most about it is first, the monitors are go straight across, and while they're not the same, at least I don't believe they're all the same. Two of them look to be the same. They have they have the matching wallpaper and things like that. I like how he features all of his boxes for the products that he has above on the shelf. Mm-hmm. I think that's cool. I like saving boxes myself, although my girlfriend told me that I'm really not allowed to do that anymore, considering we moved to a new apartment and it's a bit smaller because we moved to Brooklyn and things are a little bit more expensive around here. But I do like that he shows that off. I think that it's a nice theme element of it. I also like how he has pretty decent wire management that I can tell. Especially in the front and leaving it behind the desk. One thing I would like to see in this particular setup is a bigger desk. Right now, what he has, it's working for him. But I think if he could get a bigger desk, maybe sleeker looking. This one looks very traditional in terms of design. Mm-hmm. Maybe if he gets something a little black or white, something that's just a little sleeker, more clean. I'm a fan of clean lines, very modern, clean line type of guy. And if you show my setup at the end of the show, maybe people will see what I'm talking about. But essentially, I think the desk is a little too traditional. But I like the setup. I like the LED keyboard. The mouse I think could use some work. It looks a little small, so it looks like he's into gaming. Probably could get a better mouse. But yeah, I like it. I think overall for a 14-year-old, I think he did a pretty bang up job. If only other piece of advice is clean up the desktop on the left. It looks a little cluttered. But aside from that, I think it's good.
Yeah, so touching on a couple of things that you mentioned, boxes. Now, I myself have some boxes on display. Actually, sort of like Ricardo, I have a couple of Apple related boxes on display. But with that said, I do think a couple of boxes don't necessarily fit. I do agree that it looks nice, but I do think that some boxes don't need to be up there, even though they're your pride and glory. You probably don't need your SSD box up there and little things. I do like the big boxes though. That is pretty damn cool. And I do like the use of a shelf, because if that was empty, that would make such a big difference in the setup. So I like that you sort of, filled in that empty space. I do agree about the desk. It is definitely older. I mean, you are 14, but your next purchase should definitely be centered around a new desk. Even if it's a fairly simple desk, just something more modern, sleek, like Jeff was saying. I think that would look nice. I do like he was also saying, the LEDs on the keyboard, they match the back LEDs, they match your computer. Altogether, it's a very nice little family of LEDs. But as far as wires, that bottom left corner, you know, yeah, the right side looks amazing. The left side, whew. But the thing about it is you have that PC there. You have that sort of as the dark area. So really make everything go right behind that PC. Make that your little dark space to put all your wires and get them away from what we can actually see. Yeah, you might not be able to do a perfect job, but at least feed them through to that back corner. That way you could sort of hide them. I would definitely look towards getting the triple monitor stand as well. And a couple things are kind of weird. Is that a hard drive mounted to the wall?
I think it says kind of looks
Kingston
like it has an Ethernet cable coming out of it, but I could be wrong.
I think it's
oh, maybe it is a hard
SSD.
drive. It's yeah, actually, I think
it might be that box that he has on display actually. But yeah, and that tubing is a little weird. I don't even think I'm going to touch on that because I could be completely wrong with the purpose of it. But you know,
there may be wires that he has running around. Yeah, I'm not 100% certain on that.
Yeah,
I did see that. I think probably could clean it up a little bit. Maybe move the tubing down behind the monitor so they don't see it.
Yeah,
would be my recommendation.
Yeah, it definitely is a little weird to have them just like out in the open like that. But yeah, let me see here. I think that really just about does it. I mean, the theme. I think this setup definitely doesn't have an evident theme. I think that the theme is sort of, you know, he's kind of into gaming. He's kind of into that whole spiel of stuff, but he's not really like selling me on a certain specific theme. And
yeah, I agree. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, so I think that kind of hurt his score just a little. But I think it's time to move on to the next setup so we could kind of see what else is in the running. And this setup is submitted by Joshua. And before we even get into it, Jeff and myself were saying that this was not that good of a photo. So if you're gonna take a photo, kind of give us a little more.
I agree. I think you know, for you guys who are submitting your setups, definitely try and take as good a photo as you can. I mean, the idea behind the show is that, you know, we critique the setups, we give you some feedback that you can use to improve it and make it even better. And you know, by taking a photo that's low res, it really doesn't benefit you or you know, either. We may not see as many cables and whatnot, but at the end of the day, it also doesn't wow the people who are watching when they see a low res photo and they're like, okay, well, you know,
yeah.
So yeah. Be nice to Matt. Take a high res photo.
And it doesn't help you either. If we can't give you feedback because your photo sucks, I mean, that kind of defeats the purpose of even submitting your setup in the first place. But yeah, so I mean, his isn't like terrible, but I am going to be making the how-to video very soon. I know I keep saying that, but I've been sort of busy. So anyways, let's get into it. He is 19. He is a college student, and he basically wants to build a custom rig and things like that soon. So he kind of has his setup ready. He just wants to know what we think. So taking a look here, I want to applaud him for having those pieces of wood for, you know, his PC, for his subwoofer and things like that. Definitely don't want to put certain things like that on a carpet. And taking a closer look behind the desk, I believe that's sort of like a cloth of some sorts that's just right behind, I guess, like staple gun to the desk or something like that. And what that does is it hides the wires. So if you don't have the wires touching the floor, they're not going to see anything. If you do look in the bottom right corner and zoom in, yeah, you'll see a wire or two, but it's not the end of the world. And something I also want to mention that a lot of people don't see at first is if you look in the center or to the left or to the right, you'll see that his speakers are actually mounted to the desk and they're upside down, but that doesn't really matter. They're mounted. So what are your thoughts on them being mounted like that?
So I'm glad you brought that up. But before I hop into that comment, I just want to say I didn't even notice that felt or cloth thing. I thought that was part of the desk. So
yeah,
that's a really good spot on your part. They definitely are blocking the wires as you're hiding the wires, as you pointed out. Mm-hmm. But in terms of the speakers, I at first I had mixed feelings about it. I wasn't sure what to think, but now that I thought about it after you showed me the photo, up until we got to it. And I'm not a fan. I feel like the sound that you're gonna get from having them mounted, especially so low, they're actually sitting by your legs. It looks like if you were sitting at this desk, the sound that you're gonna get out of that is just not gonna be as good, in my opinion. Just because they're not in an optimal location for listening to music, if you will. Or gaming even, I guess. I mean, maybe for gaming it could work. It looks like he's a gamer. Gaming, I only say that because the vibrations and the sound of the game, and it might make you feel like it may be more intense, if it's situated in that area. Yeah. So it may be cooler. But for if you're listening to music at all, it's probably not the optimal location for those speakers.
Yeah, especially since they're sort of pointing down. It's not that they're just mounted upside down. It's that they're legitimately pointing down. So think about the way that the sound's going to travel. It's going to go right down to the floor rather than where you want it, which is above you. And like you said, since it's sort of like level with this waist/leg area, your legs don't have ears, so they're not going to enjoy it. And the other weird thing is that the center speaker is right where your stomach is. If you're sitting anywhere remotely close to that desk, your stomach is going to be like vibrating from noise. Like, I don't understand what... I like your idea. It just doesn't seem to be a good one, I guess, when you actually put it into play. I definitely...
maybe in theory it sounds good.
No, I definitely think it's a good idea, but I think your desk is like too short for it or something like that. The speakers
I think what his problem also is that, see, if you look behind the desk, you see like those curtains, it looks like. Mm-hmm. I think there's a window probably there, right? Mm-hmm. And he can't mount the speakers to the wall because the window's there. So what's he gonna do? So maybe what I would recommend is, I don't know the whole layout of the room, but maybe if he turned his desk that way, and he put that desk up on the wall, and then he mounted the speakers to the wall, it would be better.
Yeah, and you know what though? He doesn't even have to go for anything super, forever, sort of, solid set in stone sort of thing. He could have it just on the outskirts of the desk, and he could put the center speaker underneath the middle monitor if he was to get triple monitor mounts. I mean, there are other ways, and I think for now it's not the end of the world. Someone was saying maybe when he's gaming, he's utilizing his headphones, and then when he's not, he's just playing music and he's like out and about throughout his room. But, you want your speakers to be practical at all times rather than just when you're not at your desk. So I would definitely look into that. But regardless, everything else is very nice, but I think you would agree it is very blech.
Yeah. I mean, and also just one thing before we get into that, I think like, unless he's like sitting on the floor listening to music, I don't think, again, the speakers are in a good location.
Yeah, no, I
but yeah, I think the whole setup, is overall it's a nice setup. It does well wire management. It has the triple monitors. The theme of the wallpaper is all the same, and it looks like he has some pretty good hardware. Problem is, it's very, very plain. Yeah. In fact, it's boringly plain. It's a black desk and basically black everything. And yeah, I mean, I think even the walls around the setup are obviously very plain. There's that window. There definitely could be some posters or something going on that kind of spruces up the desk to make it a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, and you know what, like, if we're even getting bored looking at your setup, I can only imagine what it feels like for you, just sitting there on a daily basis. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else I really want to say. It's nice. It's very nice. It's just, give it some love, give it some personality, show who you are, and that's really what has to be done to the setup. You're unlike every other person. Like, you have all the equipment, you have everything set up nice. Now you just need to put yourself into the setup. So I would definitely do that. You want to move on to the last setup though?
Sure.
All right, so this setup is actually a FastPass setup. It is the second ever FastPass submitted setup. The person's name is Jed. So Jed, thank you so much for supporting the show. I really do appreciate it, and I apologize for the score that I gave you. I just because you bought it, I'm not going to treat you differently. I think the reason why you submitted it is to get that feedback to bring it to the next level, and I hope that's the case. Don't hate me, but if you guys want to get on the show, literally, he bought it. Well, he bought it right after Jay's episode, and now he's on the show, so you guys could do that too. perks.pimpmysetup.com. But regardless, let's go on. Jed is 14, and he's from Indiana, and again, his setup will be on soon enough. But the email will go on the site soon enough. Wow, I'm losing my mind. Okay, so let's take a look at Jed's setup. Sort of brings me back to episode 2 with Brian, aka Sergeant Ballistic Gaming, and the reason I say it is because he's got sort of a workstation to the left, which we have to really think about, because at first Jeff's like, why'd you give him that for outside out of mind? I mean, look at the left side. And I'm like, yeah, but it's his workstation. And then he was, yeah, you had that realization, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you think about the whole setup, you know?
I think as a whole, it could use a lot of work. Yeah. But I at the same time, I feel like when it comes down, obviously wire management needs a lot of work. I mean, I think you and I would both agree there that there's a lot that can be done to make his setup less of a mess when it comes to the wires. Because if you just look underneath the desk, it's a mishmash, crisscross of wires going on around there. It's very, very tough to tell what goes where. I could only imagine if I were to get down on my knees and then look under that desk, trying to find out what cable went to what would be almost impossible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can only imagine what he has to go through every time he adds something new to his setup. And I've been there before. It sucks. You know, it's like, oh, I finally got around to setting up the wires the way I want them. But it's a real pain to do that. In terms of the left, if he's using that space for like I was telling you, like soldering or like building stuff or whatever, that's really cool. If not, then he needs to literally do this. Are you watching?
Mm-hmm.
To the desk.
Yeah.
And just get all that stuff off the desk, because it doesn't need to be there if he's not using it for anything.
Yeah.
And he has that huge trash can under his desk. Probably could get something a little smaller, sleeker, or put all that stuff on the left side in the trash can.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good idea. And one thing I wanted to point out that I thought was actually kind of funny. He's got a C920 on the top of his center monitor, and if you look underneath the desk, he still has the box. It's like, why do you need the box, man? It's nothing special about that box. I just got a new C920 the other day because I was gonna do cam, but apparently we can't do cam, so that sucks. But yeah, that box is nothing special. Like things like that, you need to learn to let go of. You don't need it because you have a couple of boxes back there. But people could say, all right, Matt, what about the top of his desk? Are the wires okay? Well, no, because if you look, they're just wherever they want to go, they go. So I definitely think a triple monitor triple monitor mount would definitely help, but just grabbing all those monitor cables and putting them into one big strand and tie wrapping them will make such a big difference. If you can make the top look good, that will make putting the bottom neat will. Wow, I can't talk. Making the bottom. If you make the top neat, making the bottom neat will be. Okay, I give up. You guys know what I'm saying.
If you make the top neat, making the bottom neat will be easier.
Yes. Why is that so hard for me? I don't know. But what do you think about the setup when the lights go off?
When the lights, when the lights.
Oh god.
I think. Well, first of all, I think it's great that he has the LEDs. I always feel like those add a lot of adds a really cool touch to a setup. I wanted to get some. I saw some at IKEA, and they had like a controller that you could change the LED color with this controller that sits on your desk, and no one let me get them. But I want them. But I do like the LED setup. I feel like having it behind the desk is cool. One thing I'd like to see, I think the problem with this picture is that the monitors are so bright right now that it kind of ruins the picture. But I bet it's cooler in person, which is why I'm giving that part a thumbs up. I think I think obviously the wire management still is an obvious issue because these LEDs are so bright. It looks like you notice that the wire management, it really sticks out at you both in the light and when the lights are off. So you got to do something about that wire management. It's probably, if I was going to do anything with this setup, the first thing I would do is wire management. Yeah, that would be the first place I started.
And it's funny because he has LEDs, which a lot of people usually don't have, and like you said, it's just like, hey, look at my wires. It's terrible, but yeah, I think if he did that and then turned on the LEDs, I mean, his setup at night would look insane, because you don't notice a lot of the things you notice with the lights on, obviously. Oh, that's common sense there. But also, Sergeant Blizzard Gaming, he's actually in the chat right now. He said, look at the right side. Your LEDs shouldn't go around the corner like that. Snip that off. It does suck, losing that if you ever use the LEDs elsewhere. But for now, you don't want it going around like that. It's so pointless. Unless it was to go around the whole desk or something like that. You don't want that little itty bitty piece going around the corner because it looks weird. Yeah, going back to the lights on, it's not terrible. It really just requires wire management. I think if you did that first, then we could talk again, and then it would be easier to say, all right, now you should do this, now you should do that, because you have great accessories, you have great you have a great dividing point to your setup where you could do labor and then you could do computer work and things like that, and I like that. That's awesome. But first handle the wires, then you can move forward, and also get rid of the boxes, as I was saying. But is there anything else you really want to say about it?
No, I think I mean, for a workstation slash computer setup, I think it's pretty cool. Obviously, again, wire management is going to be key for this setup. Getting it to a point where it looks clean under the desk and also on the desk is going to be super important. And then, as you mentioned, from there we can provide tips and tricks on how to further improve it.
Yeah. I'm trying to look. That's really all I got for you, Jed. I'm sorry. I do appreciate you doing the fast pass. If you make any changes within the next coming week or so, let me know, and we'll see what we can do for you. But I think that you have the ability to do some things, as I always say. But seriously, you could definitely make that setup look amazing with just a little bit of work.
One thing maybe I would consider is depending on how in love with those speakers he is, maybe consider getting a different, smaller, more sleeker set of speakers. That you can maybe even attach some LEDs to. That would be kind of cool too.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I could assume that he has some sort of attachment to those speakers, because I don't know why else you would have them. But yeah, I would definitely look. And even you get the cheap Logitech ones. I mean, they're really nice, a good bang for your buck. And yeah, so thanks, Jed. I appreciate you doing that. And that just about does it. So hopefully, I don't know exactly how the timing is on this episode, but let's hope it's good. But before we do end, we have to get the scores. So Cameron, aka Cam, how you doing today? You doing good, Cam?
I'm doing just fine, Matt.
Yeah, good. Okay, cool. All right, so Cameron, we're gonna ask you some questions here. Let's start off with the first setup. What is the score for Jan's setup?
Jan has a 72 overall average.
And what about James?
29.
Ricardo.
71.
Pete.
61.
Joshua.
70.
And Jed.
34.
All right, so who are our two winners? Let's start with the second best.
Second best would have to be Ricardo.
Okay, and the winner?
Jan.
So there you go. Jan and Ricardo, you're going to be moving on to the battle. Once we finish the first 10 episodes, you're going to be going up against all the other setups that were the last two to win. And what's going to happen is the people that win are going to get entered into the Pimp My Setup Hall of Fame. And this is going to be a crazy one because you're going to be the first person ever. So make sure you guys...
Can you guys see my cat?
Can you see it, Cam?
This is Zuck. He decided to join the show.
Named after Mark Zuckerberg, right?
Yeah. I also have another cat, Nala, but I think she's sleeping somewhere. Wait. Before we go, yeah. I want to ask you one thing.
Yeah.
So let's turn the tables a little bit for a second.
Oh God.
Let's show my setup that I sent you a picture of.
Okay.
And let's have the chat room rate it.
Okay. All right. So there you go, guys. You could kind of see that one. I'm gonna get the other picture up. Tell us what you think in the comments. And here's picture number 2, guys. So you can see it a little bit. And explain why there's 2 computers, why there's 2 setups.
So there's 2 setups because one's mine, the one on the right, and one's Mandy's, my girlfriend, the one on the left. They're giving me zeros.
Zeros? Oh.
Oh, man. Dude, I thought I was going to get into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, well, now you're definitely not. I just can't do it for you. It's just not going to happen. All right, so, guys, make sure you go on over there and check out his setup, obviously, on Instagram. But before we finish the episode, I do this with every single co-host that I had so far. So I'm going to ask you, Jeff, what are you most afraid of? Like, what's your biggest fear?
In terms of setups, or
no, just in life, like clowns, snakes.
Well, my biggest fear, since for the past, I don't know, 4 years maybe, has been my cats chewing on my electronics cables.
Okay, all right.
That's my biggest fear.
Is there what scares you though? What's like something horrifying, like a killer or snakes or clowns? Like, what's something you see in your nightmare? Is it really cats chewing on, your cords, or is there something like,
Well, if
spiders?
you had to replace $300 headphones, you would get scared too.
But there's nothing like, slimy, I don't know, insects crawling over you at night.
No, I'm not really that scared of that much stuff. I mean, clowns don't really bother me. If I saw a clown coming at me with a knife, I'd be scared.
Okay, guys, there we go. That's all I needed. Guys, tweet a photo at Jeff Weisbein of a clown with a knife. Let's flood his Twitter with that, and I'm sure you also get some pictures of.
Please don't do that.
Well, they're gonna do it. They are gonna do it.
Or I would actually prefer to get that than cats chewing on cables.
Okay, guys, send both of them. Send it on over and make him happy. But all right, Jeff, thanks so much for being on. I really appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me. It was just a lot of fun.
No problem. So we're gonna do the same spiel again. Let's see if we got it this time. Ready? My name's Matt Philie. You can check me out on Twitter at MattPhilly.
My name's Jeff Weisbein. You can check me out on Twitter at Jeff Weisbein and at Best Techie.
There you go. So, guys, thanks so much for watching episode 7 of Pimp My Setup, recorded live on December 1st, 2014. My name... Oh, no, I'm not going to do that again. Wow. I was going to say, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the Flippity Flop. Peace.
Thanks for watching this episode of Pimp My Setup. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe. Follow at Pimp My Setup on Twitter for the latest info about the show. And check out swashin.tv/schedule to know when we'll be live again. Stay up to date with Matt Philie by following him on Twitter at Matt Philie. And until next time, we'll catch you on the Flippity Flop.